Welcome to today's podcast by the Actuarial Academy of East Africa Mentorship Desk, where we explore the journey of leaders, change makers, and innovators in various sectors. Today, we have the incredible Marjorie Ngwenya with us, a trailblazer in the financial world, a former president of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, but the first president of colour from outside the UK, the youngest president of the IFOA, and the third female president. That is very inspiring. She's an external member of the Bank of England's Prudential Regulation Committee. Marjorie, thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited to dive into your journey of leadership, professional growth, and the powerful mindset that you've cultivated over the years. Welcome. Marjorie, you've had such an inspiring career, holding leadership positions at a pretty young age in high-stake environments, from being a regulator at the Bank of England to supporting various causes, including sustainability and education. How have you consistently managed to find time to invest in your own personal growth while balancing all these various responsibilities? And could you share any specific strategies of mindsets that have helped you achieve this?
Thanks, Shruti. I think it's really about intentionality and checking in with oneself about what matters and then making the time for it. So I often take half an hour, half a day, depending on how much time I have, to reflect on the things that I want to achieve in my life and then make sure that where I'm investing my time and energy is aligned with where I want to go. So I think it's about awareness, it's about self-knowledge, and it's really about a mindset of doing what is in line with your priorities, because we live in these treadmill environments. We just go, 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 and we do things on autopilot. And if we're not mindful, we might find that the sum of our actions just take us to a place that we never intended to be. And so if you take stock every now and again, I think you'll recognize that you're either acting in line with your eventual goals, or you're just working towards something that is pre-programmed and perhaps isn't leading you to a meaningful destination. So that's what I'd really encourage, taking time for yourself and checking in. And then rebalancing. So every now and again I ask myself, are the activities that I'm engaged in aligned with where I want to get to? And take a step back and look at the big picture of all the things that I do, because I do many, and then cull a few or introduce a few.
So you cut out the white noise.
Exactly.
Okay. Those are pretty practical tips.
Yeah.
That I think a lot of us could probably try out.
I encourage it.
Thank you. To our listeners, thank you for joining us and thank you for listening. This is Shruti Shah. I'm a qualified actuary working at Zamara, where I also head up governance, risk and compliance. I'd like to hand over to the vibrant Samantha Weya, who will be taking on the next few questions.
My name is Samantha Weya and I work with Zamara. I head up the Actuarial healthcare team. And it's a pleasure to be here this morning. Thank you so much. I love the concept of vision boarding. Personally, I've been doing it for the last 6 years. I taught my little sisters how to do it. The other day, they had a class setting goals and they were like, we knew what our goals were because we vision board every year. It was very sweet. And I hold my family hostage to vision board. So I'm really inspired by what you're saying, right? It's like the self-awareness, understanding how you're spending your time working towards goals is so important.
Absolutely.
In addition to your professional work, you've been involved in several impactful initiatives, such as those targeting African STEM students. As someone in a leadership position, how do you ensure that your professional life aligns with your personal values and the causes you're passionate about? What advice would you give to other leaders who want to create a meaningful impact beyond their immediate work?
I would say start by being really clear on your values. And that will guide you in terms of the choices that you're going to make professionally and personally, actually. So I really am deeply connected to the idea of integrity. And when I feel that my integrity has been questioned, or I'm involved with something that is perhaps giving me sleepless nights, then I have to take a step away from it. I've made a number of difficult career choices on the basis of my values. And when I feel that they're compromised, I'm just not prepared to be in that space any longer. sometimes comes with very challenging conversations, but I think that I'd rather sleep well at night than wrestle with those unsettling feelings for prolonged periods. So I think that everyone has to just check in with where they are and what matters to them. And when it comes to infusing your professional life with the things that you care about, first of all, recognize what those are, and then find opportunities to either give back or to make that your main occupation. So I have been fortunate to be involved in initiatives that focus on developing STEM students. I've been fortunate to be involved in not-for-profits that deal with issues of injustice, and I serve on 2 not-for-profit boards that are involved in social justice organizations.
Thank you so much. I really deeply resonate with that. I was having a conversation with someone recently about, the importance of integrating your values with your professional work, and a big part of that is no being an option, right?
Yes.
So I love what you're saying, that, you've got to be willing to turn down some of those jobs, You've got to be willing to say some no's so that you can be aligned with your values in terms of what you're doing with your day-to-day. Okay, let's go on to the next question. One challenge that many professionals face, especially in high-performance environments, is imposter syndrome. Could you share your experience with imposter syndrome and how you were able to overcome or master it? What advice do you have for others struggling with feelings of self-doubt even as they achieve success?
So I'm deeply acquainted with imposter syndrome. It's something that I encounter time and time again, and it's something that I've learned to befriend, to be familiar with, and to recognize it when it comes knocking on my door. So every time I'm faced with a really big career step up, I start to question whether I'm capable. I start to question whether I'm going to be found out, and people will discover that actually I'm not really good at this, and somehow I was accidentally chosen, but I don't belong here. And so what I take comfort in is that this is quite a common phenomenon. Research has been done, shows that most of us in fact experience this, and it's something like 80% of people in any given room are probably experiencing some kind of feeling of imposter phenomenon. And so I, over time, have just come to recognize the hallmarks of it. I start to get stuck in my head and start to question my right to be. I got to where I am. That is not in question. And the fiction is that I'm doubting that I'm capable. The fiction is that I'm questioning whether I deserve to be where I am. And so just laying it out in that way helps me to be clearer about my own, what can I call them, false mental maps, or the stories that I'm telling myself. And once I call it out in that way, I find that I'm much more settled, and I have to keep reminding myself. So it's not a once-off exercise.
Right? Yeah. So I think, that narrative fallacy that is faced with imposter syndrome, I love that in terms of the importance of separating the facts from the fiction, which is something that doesn't even just capture only imposter syndrome, right? I think in any relationship that you navigate, when you think, oh, people might not like me, people don't, people's opinions of you, most people don't really care, they're not bothered. Yeah, exactly. So how you separate the facts from the fiction is such an important thing and tool to be able to develop, and building up that muscle is so key. So we love that. Okay, on to the last question. Momentum is a powerful concept, and you speak about it in your book, congratulations on your book, Empowered Evolution, as being crucial for translating goals into actions. You've been a significant force behind the growth of the Actuarial Academy of East Africa, which has mentored over 1,200 students. How important is momentum in sustaining the growth of initiatives like the Actuarial Academy? And how do you see its continued development contributing to the actual profession, especially in Africa?
So I'm really proud of the Actuarial Academy. I'm proud because I remember this being simply an idea, and it could have remained exactly that. But what's beautiful is that action was taken, and that's what I talk about in my book regarding momentum. You can have beautiful ideas, you can have beautiful plans, but until you put them into action, they remain just dreams. And so the Academy being able to build a vision and then execute it is really quite special.
Yeah.
So for anyone that has a dream, I have lots of coaching clients, for example, that say, I want to start a business, or I want to write a book, or I want to complete an Ironman race. If you say those things and do nothing, then you may as well not have said them.
Yeah. One loves to dream, okay? And I Actually, the reason I started vision boarding was because I had all the potential to be just a dreamer. Okay, and so I started vision boarding to hold myself accountable, and I'd allocate like accountability partners for everything, because otherwise, like I'm not much. I love the dream, I love the vision. I don't love the admin of getting towards that vision.
Not many do.
Right, so I, learning how to kind of resource yourself with people who can also help you build that vision into a reality is so important. I listened to a podcast and, Adam Grant was talking about that, like this fallacy narrative that we build in our minds that we say, for example, even with investing, right? So people will be like, and I've said this before because I knew about Bitcoin in 2012 when I was in university and when I was doing interviews for jobs and internships, and I would be like, oh yeah, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, but I never invested, right? I talked about it, I never invested. So sometimes I'd be like, you know how rich I would be if I just focused as a student and put like. But Adam Grant talks about this narrative fallacy that we have in our heads that we would have been that person who would have done. But actually, most people don't actually realize their vision into reality. So it's not true. Like the magic happens in the people who are able to do, not in the people who are able to think about. Most people are thinking about these visions and dreams.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So surround yourself with implementers. For those of you who might be dreamers like myself, that is the recommendation. Not everyone is great with the admin and the planning, but you can find someone who will help you realize that vision and keep the momentum going. Thank you so much for tuning in today onto this podcast.
Marjorie, it's been such a pleasure learning from your insights today, from leadership and professional growth to overcoming challenges and creating momentum. Your journey is a true testament to the power of mindset, purpose, and action. Thank you, Asante Sana, for sharing your wisdom with us and for the work that you continue to do in empowering others and paving the way for us. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on this insightful episode with Marjorie. Stay tuned for more conversations with changemakers and leaders who are shaping the world we live in. Until next time, keep evolving and stay empowered.